I've got what seems like an incendiary question on the channel, and it seems to be phrased as such with some sort of presumptions or idealism or antagonism to it, but it really doesn't. And it's one of those, well, the channel name it came from, Where is My Hope, kind of says that. So, what is this about? There are no cures or natural remedies that work for cancer, HIV, or AIDS, etc. And the answer to that is a very clear and very distinctive no. There also aren't any unnatural cures. The idea of natural or organic or other buzzwords used for marketing really should be deleted from everybody's verbiage when we talk about things. This means that it complicates things, so here we go. A virus like COVID-19 or the flu or AIDS or actually HIV specifically versus the effect, AIDS in that case, or the effect of COVID-19, lung and heart damage. You could have a particular type of fever that causes damage to your heart valves. I've had bacterial infections and currently have one attacking my body right now that is constantly wearing me down. But it won't kill me. But it is of a particular variety just simply because I keep getting it over the years. It's resonant in my skin. It won't go away. That if you got it from me, it would kill you in possibly the most gruesome way a human can die. Being eaten alive, and it looks like you're being eaten alive by some sort of toxic waste. It literally does that to you. A large portion of my anatomy is scar tissue from it. What I would die from is not the infection, but the damage it causes to my anatomy, making me incapable of having a spinal column that's attached to my pelvis, for instance, or having the tailbone disappear, so that the musculature that attaches to it as a remnant bone element instead of a tail ends up not being able to make it to where my legs work. Or it could just simply destroy an entire section of my lower abdomen to where my lungs don't have the ability to inflate because the mount point for my diaphragm is gone. It could also just take one of my eyeballs. Instead of eating all the material behind one of the eye sockets and having my eye slowly go back from being sunken into my head to being out here. It also happened to both eye sockets. I have an asymmetrical face in some ways for that. Some of my jaw and some of my skull has been eaten by bacterial infection. The effect a disease has versus the disease itself are usually, not always, but usually totally different treatments. In this case, reconstructive surgery or just healing. In the case of my immune system, which is not AIDS, it is a genetic condition which makes me more vulnerable to specific bacterial infections because historically humans don't have exposure to this weird mutation of staph infection that happened about 20 years ago. I'm one of a couple of hundred people who have it in their system and it won't go away. I get recurring effects of it. It's also in the environment. Most of you don't get it because you just don't. Your immune systems have adapted without you knowing it. It's not MRSA, but it's another one like it. But cancer has been with us for forever. Natural cures don't work as well as what you might consider an unnatural or inappropriate or homeopathic or whatever treatment. By the way, you're looking at this from the wrong end of the spectrum. Most people just go to the hospital and say, cure me. If a hospital says, I can't cure you, then you can do alternative medicine all you want to. You might discover that some random thing that doesn't really cure anything else might cure your particular cancer. It's possible. The trouble is, cancers can just spontaneously go into remission. People can be misdiagnosed with a cancer. You could have also received medical treatment. I'd like to point out that one particular person that I have a video about probably never had cancer, but definitely went through treatment without getting a real description of their problem, and had cancer treatments and decided not to admit that the standard medical treatments for cancer did it because they want to sell some Herbalife supplement pyramid scheme. The problem with all this is that a small portion of the people that go out of their way to try to find some other way to treat cancer because there's no way to treat it. I mean, why would you go for alternative treatments if a standard treatment works and you can get it? I mean, really. I mean, you're going to die, get the treatment, and then owe money for the rest of your life? Well, yeah. You could just say, I'm declaring that I'm financially insolvent. I can never pay this because it was to save my life. Take everything I have. I'm not dead. I can build up. But I can't build up if you keep chasing me with a bill for $100,000 simply because I had to have a heart removed. A lung removed, sorry. Or had part of had a leg cut off. People have gone into financial ruin over these things. So what happens is they go for something that seems cheaper. Oh, do a food supplement. Well, but they don't work. But they don't cost as much. That's like saying, I know I lost my keys over here in the dark area, but until daylight I'm going to look over here under the spotlight because at least I can try to find it there. I might have lost it there, even though it's a 1% chance. I know I lost them over there in the field, but I can't find them there. The more I stomp around, it's going to be less likely for me to see the keys. I can't see them till daylight, but I'm under here under the lamppost. I'll find my keys here or I won't. I'll busy myself with that. That's about as effective as saying I'm going to drink green tea to get rid of lung cancer. So when I say there aren't any real cures that call themselves natural remedies or organic medicine or homeopathy or alt med, I'm not joking about it. There aren't any. And no, it's not like one of them is going to get declared a real treatment, because every one of the ones you're going to be looking up and finding, remember this is marketing, all of them you're finding are things that have to have one set of characteristics in order to avoid being regulated. They cannot have any effect on your body that's able to be perceived. In order for you to escape the FDA with something that is not effective in cancer and not dangerous at the same time and not regulatable, is that also, by definition, cannot work. If a medication actually treats cancer, it's immediately regulated by the FDA. Why? Because in order for something to affect cancer in a person who's sick, it would also affect a healthy person in some way. That would be maybe a negative way or just some side benefit. You can take an aspirin every day and it will reduce your likelihood of getting a heart attack. But its negative side effect, because there has to be other side effects, nothing's perfect, is that it can cause you to have stomach problems. You can have bleeding in the digestive tract. If you have high blood pressure, it's worth the risk of having some digestive tract discomfort or maybe even causing digestive tract issues that become serious later because you don't want to die from a heart attack. And I'd like to bring up the ultimate natural remedies. Number one, take care of yourself militantly. And number two, and this is going to sound really, really crass, but it's a real answer, die early. The reason people didn't have these long, drawn-out, miserable deaths in the past is they died early in life when they were still healthy from some accident or something, or going to war. If you're in a family that has a genetic predisposition towards dying when they hit 60 or 70 from really, really miserable things like dying from slow, chronic, miserable cancers that eat you alive and just make you in hell but don't kill you, the best way to avoid it is to pick a time in your life when you go off and be a soldier of fortune and just go off and fight a war until you get killed. While you feel alive, while you feel adventurous and empowered, go fight for a cause and die in the process. This is not a joke. This is actually advice given to some people when they found out that they were going to die from a chronic cancer treatment not being available. Cancer isn't new. It's been around for a while. We just couldn't treat it very well in the past. There were cancer treatments found that would work, and these were, oddly enough, naturally occurring materials, natural remedies. So I put to you, there are natural remedies and cures in some cases, but they're just called conventional medicine now. Just like aspirin is based on a plant material, it's a conventional medicine. Well, I don't want to use medicine. That's big pharma. No, it started off being ancient Chinese secret or Hopi medicine material. We just use it now for conventional medicine. It's not evil inherently or better inherently. It's just the same medicine. Usually it's made in such a way that it has very few, if any, side effects, or has a massively beneficial effect and still has the same risk of side effects, but at that level. The idea is to optimize its usability. Most cancers these days, not all, but most cancers can be cured or forced into remission. You're never really considered cured because they never really trust the work. And I know of couple of dozen people who've been diagnosed with cancer that would be terminal if they didn't get treatment. They got treatment and it went away and they're okay. They will eventually die from that or some other thing. But if you want the good old days back, if you want the natural way to cure cancer, the way you cured cancer is you died from something unrelated. That's it. It was never, ever, ever anything else. And yes, there are natural remedies that work for cancer, HIV, or AIDS. They're already being used. By deciding you're going to demand that there's only unconventional medicine or alt medicine versus real medicine, as I call it, you're throwing out what used to be alt medicine. A large portion of what we have for medical treatments were at one time alternative medicine. The ones that aren't included in aren't being excluded because of big pharma bullshit. Not really. That is a problem, though. That does happen. They're being excluded because they don't fucking work. Because, again, you and me have the power to just bypass the medical system. My treatment for me having staph infections was being taught how to mechanically remove the infectious material, clean out the wound, whether it be in my face, and yes, one time in the eye socket, or on my back where I have to use a mirror or a video camera to see the damn thing. And I would do incision, drainage, excision, debridement, and in some cases, de-roofing. That means I would literally remove everything that could contain an infection, clean out the entire space, sterilize the area, and then the last stage would be to remove everything that could contain the area to force it to heal from the inside out, filling itself in with granular material. I even was taught by the hospital to, if necessary, remove the top layer of material, dead ass removing it, and force it to regrow tissue while it was in the state and keep it sterilized the entire time, because a scar section that was done that way had a lower likelihood of getting reinfected, mostly. I learned to do very minor surgery on myself because it was either that or go to the hospital over and over again over a period of 2 months for 5 or 6 procedures per year, depending on the season. Usually it was spring or fall. It got expensive and it got deadly. As of recently, I had to remove, because it had that sensation to it, I knew it was this ultra strong version of staph, I had to remove a really tiny hunk of material from my anatomy, from my lower back. But I had to remove it. I didn't have a choice, because if I left it there, it would get worse and it would start tunneling. Okay, and it's a natural remedy. It's called surgery. Conventional medicine is a natural remedy. Calling it something else is propaganda. Most of the procedures you're looking at, most of the medicines you're looking at, are simply long-term storage-enabled versions of what used to be taken from roots and berries and leaves. And they're concentrated so you can get more effect and have only maybe the same side effects from the same amount. That's all. And again, you're posting this under a video about someone selling something that doesn't cure cancer at all. It destroys tissue indiscriminately. And well, where's my hope? I understand that. But if you've been told you have no hope, I'll tell you about one of my favorite stories really quickly. A person years back, I got to meet him. He was one of the first treatment persons. Was told he had an inoperable cancer because it was too deep. So he volunteered for every experimental procedure, and they eventually found a method for killing off the cancer. Didn't remove it. They drilled a hole in his skull to make an opening, and fished a piece of metal tubing between layers of brain tissue until they found a way past anything that would affect his behavior or functionality, pushed into the core of the cancerous tumor, and then simply introduced liquid nitrogen to the tip, freezing it solid and killing all the cells. They split open when they expand. That worked. That's it. That's all they found. He was one of the first volunteers, and he's still alive probably today. That at the time was considered crazy surgery. Now it's conventional. Same thing with repairing eyes or repairing a hip. Don't lose hope. But stop letting people take your hope away from you by telling you that all of those alt medicine methods that have become conventional methods are now part of the problem. They're not trying to kill you, they're trying to cure you. They're just too expensive. And if you want that to go away, and that's really the problem, you're going to have to socialize medicine a little bit. I'm sorry. Pick your poison or stop drinking it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.